Touring. The first line is kind of big. We we did the first weekend of tour this weekend, and touring involves a lot of traveling, not a lot of sleeping, a lot of meeting people, a lot of setting up, a lot of preparation between sets, and it's kind of like fighting for sleep. Like the main thing that I think of is like, yeah, you have all these things to do, but I don't know when the next time I'm going to sleep is. Like on Thursday night before I flew, I was up at 3 in the morning, at the airport by 6, on a plane by 8 to Seattle, got to Seattle, met the tour manager, got the light and all the other production stuff, hung out with friends until like 7 or 8. We went and got food, and then go to the venue, set up at the venue, eat dinner, play the show. You're there till 2 or 3 at night, get back to the hotel, pack your bags. You still haven't slept yet since 3 in the morning on Thursday, technically Friday morning. Go to the airport fly from Seattle to Phoenix to Des Moines, which is in, oh man, thank you. I don't know any American geography. Ended up renting a car, still haven't slept in a bed yet, drive from, at like 5 o'clock when we land, drive from Des Moines all the way to Iowa City, get to Iowa City, check into the hotel, meet up with friends, eat, then go to the venue, play the show, and by 4 a.m. on Sunday, it was the first time that I had slept since technically Friday morning at 3 a.m. So when I say you're fighting for sleep, it's not really a joke. Like, you get sleep on planes if you're lucky, which I always sleep on the far right. I can actually get a decent amount of sleep. Like, I haven't slept since, I slept last night for 3 hours because I was stuck in Iowa City, but I got back at 1 o'clock this afternoon, got a bunch of stuff ready to set up for next week of tour, and, I'll sleep tonight, and that's, the next cycle. But tonight's like the first night since Sunday, and before that since Thursday night, that I'll be like sleeping in a bed for a solid more than 5 hours. So it's great. From the outside, all the pictures that we post, all the things that we're talking about, and like being around, and like, oh, it's so cool, like we're doing a show, like all the people that are excited about the show, but we're always fighting for sleep. It's a constant battle between like setting up a different set for a different city because all your sets are going to be different, or at least mine try to be, because different areas of the world listen to different music. So the set that works in Los Angeles the best, in my opinion, will not work as well as it will in New York, won't work the same as it does in New Orleans, doesn't work the same as it did in Iowa City. So it's just like constantly changing, constantly moving, and you're never sleeping. Same thing, or like tying in with the crowd stuff and changing the sets, it's really great as you do more and more shows to learn to read the crowd and understand what they listen to and what they like. As you play in a city more and more often, unless you already know or you have friends that live there, which is also great help. Like whenever I go to a city, I'll either ask friends that are from there or the venue people or promoters or whoever I can meet before the show, saying, what do you guys like to listen to? Or what are popular songs here that I could try to add to my set that would make it a little bit more special? Like if I played Too Short in the Bay, which, again, I don't know anything much about Too Short, but if you play Too Short in the Bay, it goes off. And I've seen that happen, so it's like, okay, let's dive into Too Short now on the plane ride back and figure out why it's so popular there and why it works. And instead of being a fake fan, understand it, instead of just like, oh, somebody told you that it works, so play it. Developing the show to go deeper than just another set is also very important. This is the first tour that we're bringing a lighting fixture that is something more than like, oh, I'm just going to pull up to the club with headphones and a USB, play a set, say bye, meet fans afterwards, and then walk off. And that can go into any depth that you want it to, really. It just kind of depends on how much money you want to put into it or what you're going to do to make it special. Like you can somehow, even as I'm saying this, I'm realizing, man, I should probably think about this. But even if it's not involving more money, maybe there's a way to take a brand or your brand and somehow add it to the show. Whether it's like something you say on the mic in a portion, or for me, I love, like in Seattle, I was walking up and down the line at like, 9, 10, 11 o'clock before I went on at 12:30, just talking to people, taking pictures, just meeting everybody that was there, because that's what I love to do. I love talking to people and seeing what you guys think, because I sit in my apartment when I'm not touring 24 hours a day. I make food, I play video games, I make more music, I talk to some people, but I'm just always there. And even, especially like frat shows too. Like I love talking to the college kids because then I get to find out what the next generation is listening to. Because it's really cool. Like I feel like I'm an old head even though I'm 23, but I'm kind of set in my ways on the music I listen to, the music I play out. But if somebody in between talking to them, whether it's in line, whether it's at an after party, whether it's anywhere, it could be at an airport if somebody runs up to me, you guys might be able to give me some insight on, oh, maybe what you're doing is great, but we like this type of music. So it gives me a little bit of insight to what other people listen to. Because at the end of the day, those kids are the ones that are going to grow up a little bit more out of college and buy tickets to shows, or that are going to continuously get into electronic music. Maybe they're upcoming producers as well that want to send you demos, and then I give them my email. I love hearing what people have to say or what people are doing to keep myself involved, but also keep myself in the loop just as much as wanting to help other people. Another big thing, like it was really easy when I was doing shows in Canada, but learning when to get into shows and whether it's too early, whether it's too late. Like I wouldn't launch, if you guys, show of hands for anybody that remembers XVII. Okay, but I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'm glad that you guys do know. I would never have done a headline tour as XVII, even though there were a lot of stats. There was, we had a bunch of remixes that were doing really, really well before I switched over to Vincent. But that probably wasn't the right time to dive into like a solo headline tour. Like I've been producing since I was 13 or 14, and this year is the first year that we're doing like my own solo headline tour as like a full run. And that's a full decade, if you look at it. It's probably like 8 or 9 years. I don't think it's a full decade yet, or at least I hope it isn't. But it takes a long time to feel like you're confident enough to do that type of thing. And I think it's really easy to get into shows with friends, or if you're able to play like a constant party like Space Yacht or Brownies or something of that nature, or smaller, or even smaller than that, just being able to understand when the right time for shows is. There's a lot of people as well that will get a giant following really, really quick and then wait for shows instead of, jumping into it being like, here's a giant headline tour that I'm going to go off of right away. Like, I believe, if I followed it correctly, similar to what 1788L did, where they kind of waited for a show. Like the hype was there, everybody wanted a show, but they were letting the anticipation build for the right moment. And that's one way to go about it. You could do it 100 different ways. You could start getting into shows and playing smaller ones. You could have the same type of growth that he did and then just wait for a show until like the very peak moment where people would start losing interest. There's just a bunch of different ways that you can get into it, but I've personally, from my experience, I felt like it was a lot better to keep producing more before just jumping into a show and thinking that that was the best option because I was eager to do one.